because I don't want to get on here and embarrass myself too much. So I recorded something earlier, but it was kind of whatever. I know my hair looks, well, it's not that visible, but it looks, however, as I said, I think in some video, when I came to the state that I'm in now, I cut my hair because a lot of stuff with just not really being able to do it with the situation. And then I've always had dandruff issues that are really bad anyways. But now it needs to get cut again, or I need to figure something else out. So I had to start off insecure. But no, really though, because it's starting to grow back. And it's kind of like, that's one of the issues though, when you're like in a situation where you can't really do your hair, maybe you don't even know how, and stuff like that. It's like, you cut it, but then it starts growing back, and then you have to figure out how to do short hair when you could already barely do hair. But I feel like doing short hair is sometimes harder than doing longer hair. I don't know if it's gonna make sense, but maybe to somebody it will. But yeah, I did have 2-strand twists, and I know that was seen in a couple videos where I've done I can't even really say face reveal, I guess. I haven't really shown what I look like since the abuse evidence channels, and even then it wasn't really like something I really wanted to do. It just had something to do with the evidence stuff. I started choking. But anywho, I'm trying to think of what to even really talk about, because like, oh yeah, I think I was saying I recorded something earlier, but I don't really like how that came out, and I was too all over the place, and I didn't really know what in the world to really talk about. And then there was the fact that 30 minutes in, I didn't have any storage space left after that, and then plus at the end of the day, like, uploading a video takes a lot of bandwidth that I don't have. And it actually reminds me of one of the many reasons why I stopped, like, really recording videos. Because even when I did back during the earlier parts of this channel, and then, like, other channels, well, no, I'll say the abuse evidence channels, I only really recorded, like, the ground or my foot or whatever while I was talking. I do have, like, my adventure channel that I made, I think in 2025. I was still in Cali, but there's even some of the videos from my older adventures from when I was like 9 or something, I guess. But I don't know. So I guess I was thinking about talking about the situation at hand. I don't know. For whatever reason, recording actual videos makes me nervous. But I feel like, I don't know how to put this, but I hate the word paranoid, but like, the past little while, especially, since something I mentioned before, I was having this convo with this girl, and she was talking about how, like, well, see, this camera angle makes me nervous. She was talking about how, well, no, that's not good either. Hold up. Wait. Okay, so she was talking about how, like, telling people about her abuse, or even people just knowing about her situation in general, is embarrassing. And that is something I used to think about, like, making videos, even for, I've heard a lot of people actually say this, and making videos isn't, like, embarrassing, but, like, people who you know in person seeing the videos, or talking to people that you know in person, if you're not in, like, a really isolated situation anyways, that's when it gets embarrassing. It's like something about random people knowing, but people around you knowing is different. Not that, that's not really my situation anymore, because I mean, I've been too isolated for most of my life for that. But I can definitely say that, like, I feel like the situations I've been in are actually now starting to get embarrassing. And Also, I just kind of feel like people see me too much, and it's kind of like being watched. Because, I mean, all the trauma that I got from the stuff with the police, not to mention I got locked up the other week. I did mention that, but then I was like, and I deleted the post about that. I was going to talk about it, but I don't know anymore. But either way, that also did remind me of, like, the hope that you can feel when you're free versus when you're locked up. It's like when you're locked up, time goes by so slowly. Like, it was a couple hours, I'm pretty sure, but it felt like I was there for at least 2 weeks. I was locked up for at least 2 weeks, and then it's like, but then it's like when you're, being in an abuse situation is pretty slow too. People say that time goes by, faster when you're older, but really time goes by really slow when you're in any abuse situation at any age. But like, since escaping, it seems like, well, so, there have been points and times where it felt like time was going by slow. Like, it felt like that on the West Coast, even though, no, it didn't. It felt like it was going by fast then most of the time. I'm screwing this up, but anyhow, the point is that it feels like, time goes by fast most of the time, but today it feels pretty slow. I guess because, like, a lot of things are closed, and I've been, like, splitting a lot and feeling what people would consider being quote-unquote depressed. And then it's just, like, really cold and windy and cloudy. But typically it feels like time is going by fast. And that's actually a bad thing. It makes me think back to something that I may have used as a screenshot in one video well over a year ago of, like, runaway and homeless and kicked out testimonials. And this one person was like, I think they got kicked out or something at 14 or whatever. Can't really remember, but pretty much, after a while you kind of just wake up or you look up and then you're like 27 or something. And it's like, I can definitely say that for a lot of people, like, they do have plans for what they want to do after, like, escaping their abuse, and if they have to lay low for that too, if not, then maybe, like, getting a job. But I feel like, once things kinda don't really go how you wanted them to, and you realize that, like, maybe a lot of the hopes and dreams are magical thinking and maladaptive daydreams, then it's kind of like whatever. And then it's kind of like, things get depressing, and then you're like almost 75 and you realize you're still out here. And I mean, I get why a lot of people become vagabonds, because they know that there's really no way to get out the situation anyway, so they might as well, like, make the best of it. And I'm not gonna lie, like I've always said, I've pretty much spent my whole life in the woods. Not that I've been in the woods, like, in a good minute. Not since I've even been in the state that I'm in now. Or even when I was in Oregon for, a month or two or something. Maybe like 2 months before I came to the state that I'm in now. And then before that, I've been in Cali since sometime in 2023. And before that, I was, in the South or the East Coast, because that's where I'm from anyways. But what was I saying? Oh yeah, but I haven't been in the woods in a while. But, like, I spent, like, my whole life being outside as much as possible. And what was I even saying with that? What was I getting at? Okay, hold up. Okay, I remember now. So, like, as I say all the time, especially in my I don't know if you have mitochondrial dysfunction playlist videos, like, I got iatrogenic brain damage, which caused metabolic issues and, like, brain insulin resistance or insulin resistance of the brain, dysautonomia / POTS type stuff, and a whole bunch of other things. Hold up. And so, like, pretty much, once I got out the gaslighting about, like, how chronically ill I actually was, I realized that I don't actually have the health to do any of the things that I really wanted to do. And so, I kind of, like, I didn't just want to do the stereotypical vagabond thing. I did want to like do like side jobs and stuff, but like pretty much I just realized that really isn't possible. I mean, I'm probably gonna have to do it, like, because of no other options, but I just don't really have the health for it, and that was kind of the bad thing about that. But then I think about this other thing, which I kind of was maybe getting into earlier. So like there was something I was saying a while ago, but I definitely didn't finish it, but I feel like this can go into it. I was thinking about, as I may have already said before, like, the longer wait you have till 18, the more likely, so many things can even happen, but the more likely you are to be stuck homeless, but also the longer you're homeless in general, the more likely you are to be stuck homeless. And at the end of the day, it's like, home is where the heart is. Like, people think about like a house, but like I say all the time in my Why People Are After You Zombies playlist, homeless energy is orphan energy. The energy of a quote-unquote homeless person is the same energy you give off even really in your abuse situation before you escape or get kicked out or whatever. It's the energy that nobody gives a crap about you, nobody really knows you, you don't really know anybody, no one loves you, maybe you don't really love anyone either. Not like on like some you hate everybody stuff, but like you just don't really know anyone or know anyone enough to have the type of connection, and vice versa. And so, pretty much, you're gonna lose your mind eventually. And then that's the end of the video. But anywho, I had got this from some gas station I walked to. I didn't even know it was right there. I guess I didn't really pay attention. Cause like I haven't really done a lot of walking in the spot, or in the area I guess I could say that I'm in now. I used to do that pretty often, like in my earlier days since escaping my previous situation and like being homeless in general. Like I don't know what I was about to say, but it's like due to like the iatrogenic neurological issues and the not being able to really break down food and stuff to get enough energy from it, I just get really tired doing that. And like depending on what I ate, like even the day before, or like last night, that will decide whether like I wake up with blurry vision and I can even really see or not. So I don't even really do like a lot of that walking around stuff anymore because it just takes a lot of energy that I cannot make. But like it even makes me think about a side thing, which is that what was I about to say? Oh yeah, so like pretty much like when you oh yeah, so when you first escape or you get kicked out or whatever in the world and you first become homeless in general, well, I can't speak for everybody, but I know for like people that are doing like the more nomadic type thing, or maybe in general, like you're scared to walk around really at first. Like I remember when I first went to Santa Cruz, like I picked a spot that was right next to the bus station pretty much, and that's where I got that those Go Back to Mexico videos, which I mean people say that to me every day in Cali, but that's where I got the video where the dude was like orange is the new Aranja, go back to your country, nice tint though. That situation, that was my second or third day in Santa Cruz, and like you can hear the seagulls in the background, but anywho, like that was my first spot. And then eventually I met some people walking down the sidewalk. That's when I met I called them the drug lady and the drug dude, but they were the dumped out foster kids that I would talk about in different videos. They were the first people I met. They were pretty nice, but they were let me help you lunatics, and they were always trying to turn me into the police and stuff, like behind my back. They were always on some slick stuff. But anyhow, so they helped me find another spot, and that's when I stayed in the lighthouse field for like a week or two or so, and then I don't even remember like what happened after that, but I feel like, I don't know, I do feel like this was like a magical point. I'm about to go on a rant that had nothing to do with what I was supposed to be talking about, but I feel like that was like a really magical time in my life because like I was saying, actually, yeah, because I mentioned this the first time I tried to record this. You're gonna have a lot of experiences once you get out here that most people never will. And I don't even mean like bad stuff. I mean like the good things. Like most Americans don't even have a passport. And a lot have they've never been to another state. Some people have never been to another city or county or especially state. Like a lot of people, they don't even know about all the mountains and the national parks. They've never been to any of them. Like there's people that don't even know that there's a desert in America. And the people that do know that there's a desert in America, they automatically think about Arizona. And Arizona is not the only desert. And like this lady was telling me about how she had to start prostituting at 15. No, not prostituting. I'm getting her mixed up. That's not somebody else. She had to become a stripper at 15 to make money to get out of homelessness with other homeless women, which is absolutely horrible. It's unfortunate that like all the stories of people that got out the situation had to do like really, really unfortunate things to get out that I'm not trying to do. She had me in the first half, but once she got to there, it was whatever. And then she had to use the money from stripping to pay for her therapy. For stripping. That's not funny, but it's just like the systems are a catch-22. Like you have to do things that make you need more quote-unquote help to get money to get the quote-unquote help. But anyhow, she was like, she ended up getting Lyme disease and almost died, but she felt like she pretty much had a life well lived and she doesn't regret anything. And she got to have experiences that most people never will have. And that definitely is true as a street kid and just homeless in general. But of course, youth homelessness is what leads to you being stuck out here, and then you're just the 50-year-old homeless person. So yeah, youth homelessness, you're gonna have like a lot of interesting experiences. Like I think about all the people that have like hitchhiked across the country in backpacks since they were 12 years old and stuff. I would never hitchhike though, but people don't even know like how common that stuff is. And it's definitely interesting life. But anywho, to go way back to 50 minutes ago, I was going into how like you have to get used to an environment to really start walking around. And so like I would stay in one area, and then like as the days would go on, typically after being somewhere like in a state or whatever in the world for like 2 weeks or a month, well, yeah, I would say maybe like at least 2 weeks, then I would get comfortable like being in that area, and then I would be able to walk around. Like I remember when I was in Santa Cruz, I didn't know how to get back downtown. I didn't know how to get to the bus station, and after many, many months, I found out it was down the street, because I had eventually left that area and I didn't know how to get back there. But like, you're definitely scared at first, but you get used to it, and then you start to explore. And I even have like videos and pictures of different things I discovered behind like shopping centers and parking lots, like pretty lakes and like ducks and stuff, that people don't even walk back there and get to see what's back there. And that was before I was homeless. I would like hang out behind shopping centers and stuff, so I guess I was always doing quote-unquote bum stuff, as some people would say. But yeah, like I found this really nice lake once. I found this abandoned hospital type thing. I didn't go inside though because it looked scary, but I had actually been wanted to find it because I was in the car with my relatives and we were driving down the highway. This was a few times, and I could see the sign for like the hospital type thing, but I didn't know like where it was at, and I really had never really been far, really went outside because most of my life I was outside, but there were some points in my situation that were pretty locked down. But also, aside from like monitoring and getting worse at certain points in my abuse situation, I just in general started to become really chronically ill, and I couldn't really do anything, like even sitting down hurt. And so like when I would go outside though, because of I guess the sick building syndrome side, I would feel better actually in a lot of ways. And so one day when things are pretty decent, I decided to go on a walk, and I was like, I wonder if I could find this place. And I actually ended up finding it. I actually have a video of it, and I ended up finding some other abandoned place one day too. It was like this apartment complex, and there was like cats everywhere, and the cats were scary, and it's all really interesting. In fact, you even get to see like a lot of cool nature. But I feel like the unfortunate thing is that people who never fit into society, if you can't get through all the spiritual warfare and stuff, you're probably gonna eventually, oh crap, why is the police here? God dang it. Every single day. I'm not even sure if they're about to get out and talk to me, if they're doing that weird thing where they just sit and watch me. That's the thing about the police around here though, that I noticed a long time ago. Unlike when I was in Cali and people called the police on me all day, like the police here, they don't really come say stuff, they just watch me. But I don't know. I'm trying to think. Is that visible? Or maybe it's because the shopping center's closed. But whenever they just do that thing where they come watch me, I assume that it's like a way of trying to scare me into leaving. But it's so weird though. As I've talked about before. Oh crap. Okay, I wanted to throw this in because I just watched over a little bit of the video. And then I guess the other audio recording thing, I'll just make that like the part 2 maybe. But what I was saying is that for people that already never fit in and they're like anointed, prophetic, and now called neurodivergent or empath or whatever, if you can't get through the mental and spiritual warfare, and if you don't like help each other with escaping the bad situations, most of us, as already known, do end up just losing our mind and passing away, and we just end up stuck in bad situations. And I even remember like the past couple years, I've watched a lot of videos of people talking about how a lot of the true anointed and prophetic people, or the true remnant of Yah and stuff, are like becoming homeless or have been homeless because they had to escape abusive family systems, or got kicked out, or were trapped or in foster care, or are in foster care or whatever. So stuff like that. But overall, I don't really know what to say about it. It is kind of like a scary thought. Cause like, I hate admitting it out loud because I don't want like any like people to see this and like start casting spells or whatever. But ever since I went through the Cash for Kids system abuse, it made me realize that, well, for one, it made me actually really think about and have the fear of like losing my mind. Not even, well, yeah, I guess from abuse and trauma, but just in general, because you get so many word curses spoken over you, and the systems are in and of itself Munchausen by proxy, and they try to create an issue that isn't there. But it made me actually think about the possibility of going insane, even though it isn't something that somebody should have to worry about. And then also going through the human cash cow systems, and even with the situation that just happened the other week or whatever, it reminds me that there's always a risk of getting locked up for no reason for the rest of your life, and you don't know if you're going to get out. You may not even have anybody to call to help you, and if you do, you're not going to be allowed to call them anyways. And yeah, it's actually really scary, and it kind of reminds you, people talk about free will, but there's only really so much free will that people actually have, or at least certain people. Okay, so I'm just gonna audio record now because storage space. But pretty much, what was I saying? Crap. I hate when that happens. I guess maybe somebody called, probably. But that's one of the things that I noticed though, actually. I'm probably about to go on a side rant, but I can only remember things for so long anyhow. And once things like that happen and I lose my train of thought, or I start dissociating or whatever, I'm not going to remember what I was talking about. So a side thing is that people get fake nice on holidays. Like, for example, maybe like on Christmas, they'll want to like give you something or whatever, like maybe a couple dollars. And so going back to the whole thing that happened on maybe like Valentine's Day, yeah, I think that is what day it was. Somebody called the cops on me, but that was the first time that's happened since I've been here. The whole fake worried white person that's hoping to be able to get some quote-unquote black parents in trouble because I was sitting at the bus stop waiting for the bus. And that's something that makes people quote-unquote worried, apparently. And it's so weird, to be honest. It's all just fake. But yeah, on holidays I noticed that, like, since I've been where I'm at, those have been the days where, like, people do play this fake I'm worried thing where, like, all of a sudden they notice me even though they probably see me every day. And they want to, like, crap, what was I gonna say? Like, I don't know, it goes into the thing that, like, nobody's ever gonna actually quote-unquote help you. They're just gonna play games and do things to try to get you in trouble, and that'll actually put you at risk. But it's just weird, though, how, like, on holidays, then people get a little fake nice. But anywho, going back to what I was saying, after a while, you do, like, get used to being in certain places. I think that's the last thing I was saying. And then you don't mind walking around, and then you, like, find more stuff. But I don't really know. I'm not really into all that anymore. I don't know, though. I hate how police do that. That's why I say, though, where I'm at now, like, people typically don't call the police. But I think that's the good thing about being somewhere where, like, one, if there's less homeless, a lower homeless population, people, they're not as fed up with, like, seeing homeless people as they are in a place like San Francisco or something, to where they're gonna automatically want to call the cops on you all day to try to get rid of you and get something to happen to you so they don't have to see you anymore. And then I feel like I can blend in a little more. And then when it comes to, like, youth homelessness and places where people pretend that doesn't exist, they're more likely to assume that I'm not homeless, or even not consider me homeless because, quote unquote, you're too young and you have somewhere you're supposed to be at because I know your parents are still alive. Stuff like that, that's pretty annoying. And so, what was the other thing with that? Hold on. So yes, like, even if I maybe did look stereotypically homeless, people are less likely to assume that I am. So that also keeps, like, a lot of things from happening. And so people are generally nicer. Like, I don't have to worry about somebody calling the cops on me and running in the bathroom with the cops trying to lock me up for using the bathroom. Which actually, if I can find it, I'll put a post that somebody made about that in the description. Because this girl had actually mentioned, like, how this can go. And, like, all the trauma of, like, people just trying to, like, come in the bathroom and trying to, like, pee for 1 second and the handle's shaking. And it sucks because I already have so much bathroom trauma anyways from living with my mom. Another story. So, yeah. But I haven't had to deal with that since I've been in the state that I'm in. And then, like, in Cali, like, it's so much stuff because of people being tired of, like, homeless people and stuff, where you have to get somebody behind the counter to press some button because there's like a lock on the door and all types of stuff. Like I remember when I was in Oregon, this was right beside a youth shelter, this McDonald's, and I actually went in there with somebody and we got fries. But of course they'll try to play this, if you get something you can use the bathroom game, but he still was talking about calling the cops on me. And the person I was with, they had to let me know, and by the way, the police are on the way. And it's like, crap, I had to pee for 2 seconds and I'm about to go to jail. But there was that. But it's like still here. Even like this morning, I had woke up a couple times and the police were watching me. I guess maybe they thought that I couldn't see them, but they were like, it's kind of like this cut type street thing, like near some woods that lead to like one of those cell tower, whatever in the world type things, where the fence is supposed to be closed and it's like supposed to be locked off. But that they watched me for like hours. And that's why I said the weird thing about it is that the police don't say anything, they just watch me. And I even remember back when I was still on the other side of town, when the whole thing happened where like the Chomo Shane dude who was bragging about being in love with me and his own kids, when he got the police to help him start sexually harassing me, and everything went downhill, which is why I had to come to the side of town that I'm on now. Like that whole scenario, it was pretty flashbacky because it was just like, well, it was kind of different from being in Cali because the situation was different from my typical threats and stuff with police and why police are typically called on me. So actually that was kind of different. It wasn't really just like it. But I don't know, still a situation with police. And so I remember there was this one time where the police were like watching me. And I know people consider this stupid, but I was sitting somewhere and the police pulled up to watch me. And so after a while, I was just like, well, do you want me to like get out the area or something? I didn't say it in a rude way because I was honestly being serious, because it really confuses me because I'm used to like police saying, okay, you gotta leave and we don't want you in our town and we don't want you in this city, we don't want you in this, whatever stuff that police have said to me, which I actually have had police say to me, you can't be here, you're not allowed in this town, stuff like that. But the ones here, they just take notes and they like pretty sure they map out wherever they see you at, but they don't really say anything. They just like do a lot of weird and intimidating type attempt and stuff to try to scare you. But this cop, when I asked him that, he just said in like their usual demonic Freemason voice, don't come near me, don't come near my car, don't lean on my car, don't say anything to me, get the F away from me, and no, I don't want you to leave because this is public property. Now get the F away from my car and don't say anything else to me. It's so funny though because I don't know, they're just weird here. So that's the pros and cons. I like it here better because people don't really call the cops on me, but then it's like the situations like what just happened where police do pop up because of whoever, it's really weird because they just sit there and watch me. But another thing is that, I don't know, I guess another thing was that like the shopping center is closed or whatever, or well, the grocery store is, not the whole shopping center, which sucks because I didn't know they would be, and I wanted something to eat. But lastly, what I could say with that is that oh yeah, and that's the thing though, going back to how people will do everything but just quote unquote help you, and they'll call the cops in hopes of getting somebody in trouble over whatever their assumption is. It's also like they do nothing but put you at risk when they call the cops, because it does nothing but like put you on the cops' radar, especially in areas where like there's a lot of stuff with homeless hate, and so then you're on their radar for them to come like harass you and terrorize you and threaten to unalive you and lock you up and all types of stuff. Or maybe even if one of them's like a sexual predator, for them to come do whatever else to you. It just puts you on a radar for them to do whatever and even try to get you out of wherever you're at. But I feel like I've probably been over here too long anyways. Which goes back to another thing. You're going to get comfortable in a certain spot after a while, but you're going to have to rotate. And I can definitely say that I've been on this side of town probably a little bit too long anyways. I would say at least since, I can't even really remember. Like, I know even when my bag got stolen on Thanksgiving night on the other side of town, I already had mostly stopped even being over there due to the whole Shane and police thing. So I don't know. But it does kind of get sucky because it's kind of like you get comfortable somewhere, but then things like what just happened, and then you gotta move. Which reminds me, going back to something else, the situation does get embarrassing after a while, because you do start to eventually realize, if you didn't already know, that you don't really have any privacy. Like, if you have to like make a phone call, do anything, you gotta do it like outside in the open in front of like everybody. And the same thing with sleeping. Now, luckily, I've never been the person that's been like scared to go to sleep out here. Some people, honestly, I could get why people are scared and how that like really gets to people and causes a lot of mental/spiritual warfare. But luckily, I've never dealt with that, and I've gotten better sleep out here than I could say I ever did in my life in general. Oh yeah, that's another thing too. That's why I try to like make videos in like more isolated places, for just in case maybe somebody does overhear something and then they want to be the fake savior who doesn't really want to help anybody, that wants to call the police because they hear something. Nobody cares, but I don't know if that was the case, so I think it was just somebody who drove by and called. But what was I saying? Oh yeah, but it's kind of like you feel like everyone's watching you be quote unquote lazy and like not get your stuff together. And another embarrassing thing is also kind of like, hold up because my throat is dry. It's embarrassing because like everybody's witnessing the fact that nobody gives a crap about you. And I mean, of course, like there's always the many people that feel like, well, you're not really homeless because you're too young and you're a female, and there's somewhere you're supposed to be at that you're not at, or you did something to get kicked out of your bed and you left. There's those people, especially like an area where I'm at now, or the people that claim that I'm secretly older than I really am, and that claim that I'm 38. I don't really feel like that would make much of a difference, but there's that. But then of course in some places more than others, there's just the people that feel like I should have been figured out something and did something. Which I will say though, there are definitely things that, at least in a decent enough like home environment, I would say that like for many people, for myself and many people I know, like the whole quote unquote home situation was way too much going on to really accomplish or do much. But for some, it is kind of easier if their home situation was like decent enough, or like their abusers were barely home, to do certain things while like still having the structure of housing, I guess I could say. Like sometimes it can maybe be easier for some people to do certain things, like, I don't know, get a job or go to school while living indoors than it would be while outdoors. And of course, a lot of times while outdoors and due to other things that may just really not be possible at all. But I feel like in a lot of ways, especially when it comes to finally having peace, safety, not like not being constantly tortured, especially when you're not in the area where like police are constantly after you and other random people. Then yeah, like you can what was I gonna say? You can, oh yeah, then being outside is like, it's better in a lot of ways, but in some ways it's similar to like being in an abuse situation. I'm forgetting something I was supposed to say, but it makes me think about how like people, when they're trying to like guilt trip you, or I don't want to say victim blame because I don't even want to use the word victim, but when they're trying to like blame you for stuff and find weird fear-mongery type things to say to you to make you feel bad about a situation you have no control over, they will make you feel like, well, if you would do what you're supposed to do and figure something out and stay somewhere safe than indoors, then you wouldn't have to deal with this and that. Like, for example, if you got like what happened the other week before I got locked up, I missed the last bus back to my spot because the bus drivers around here, like, they like to look people in the eyes and keep going, but then some of them act like they really can't see. Although there was this one lady that obviously really couldn't see, but I haven't seen her work in a hot minute. Maybe somebody reported her. But so like I got stuck somewhere behind that, and then somebody will of course say, well, if you had a safe place to stay indoors and you were staying with somebody, that wouldn't have happened. But that really depends, because like part of the reason that I have a lot of the reason I have stranded trauma, actually no, that didn't come out right either. I first started getting what I like to call stranded trauma well before I became homeless. I still actually have videos on the evidence channels. Hold up, wait a minute. Of when I got stuck at this library overnight. In fact, that's when I first learned that when you're at the library, when they're closing, they start trying to like dig into your business and figure out if you're 18 plus, because they're not supposed to leave you there without calling the police, which of course would have caused all types of bull crap. Without calling the police, if how do I put this? If you're still there and nobody comes to pick you up, they have to call the police and stuff. That's pretty much it. That's when I found that out. But luckily I was able to get around that happening, so I didn't end up getting in more trouble. But I did get stranded at the library because where I live there was no sidewalk, and I didn't know how to get back quote unquote home anyways. And so yeah, I just was like laying out there at night, and I remember like I had opened my eyes and there was like this neighborhood on the other side of the fence by the library, and there was like this Asian family just staring out their window at me, and I was like, yeah, this is embarrassing. But anywho, and that kind of goes back to everything. In fact, I feel like that actually relates to this a lot. It is really embarrassing because after a while you start to realize, like, even with people's different mindsets about what your situation is and whether it's quote unquote your fault or you did something to somebody or whatever, it still is all kind of embarrassing in the end, because it's like people are witnessing like your downfall, and they're just like watching a situation that you may lose your mind in, pass away in, get terrorized and locked up by police and ICE in. And overall, it's just kind of like people seeing you as like the vulnerable person that nobody gives a crap about. And I feel like one of the unfortunate things is that, as I was actually saying, I think a while ago, or probably, I don't know, an hour ago, it's kind of like, hold on, no, I forgot again. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, I have no idea what in the world I was about to say. But, yeah. And I think back to that, because, like, it definitely is embarrassing in a lot of ways. And I think maybe I was about to go into, like, the thing with the Asian family watching me laying outside the library. It makes me think about how, like, you really just have no privacy. And after a while, it's kind of like, okay, you're just being watched too much. And especially, like, after the whole thing, after the whole thing of like getting locked up, but also something that happened before that, which I'd already suspected. was like these guys letting me know that like they see me through like their backyard fence. Like, not that I didn't expect something like that. Like, I mean, I know generally people see me, but it still just reminds you that like you really have no privacy. And like stuff like that is why, one of the reasons why people eventually split into full-blown actual real schizophrenia, due to like the different trauma and stuff and just the no privacy. And like just like constantly knowing you're being watched and people are judging you and stuff like that. So yeah, I watched a little bit of like my last audio recording or listened to, and what I also forgot to really finish saying, because I probably eventually forgot what I was saying as a whole, is that the way that things are similar out here as they are when you're in your when you're living with relatives or in foster care, of course, especially in whatever other situation, is pretty much like the issue is not having any help with stuff. Like if I get jumped at the bus station or something and I tell one of the bullcrappy people about that, they'll be like, well, if you were doing what you're supposed to do and if you were somewhere safe, that wouldn't have happened. But that's not true at all whatsoever, because nobody is going to be holding my hand every time I go everywhere. I'm not going to have a bodyguard with me 24/7. So that could still happen regardless, because I mean, things can just happen. Or a better example, like just getting stuck places, which I was kind of already talking about when I was trying to mention this and then didn't say everything I meant to say, is that like not pretty much just, I don't even know how to put it, not having help with stuff is, it's the same issue in the abuse situation, or the same issue if you're living indoors. If you don't have help, you don't have help, and it's going to have the same outcomes whether you're living indoors or not. Getting stuck at the library, that's just like the situation. There was plenty of situations like that happened actually in my previous situation, but that's just like the whole thing that happened the other week with me missing the last bus. They're similar anyways, and getting stuck somewhere and not being able to like go back to where my sleeping bag and stuff is. And it was pretty cold. It was like maybe 32 or something, 32 degrees, I don't really remember. And then of course one of the bullcrappy people will say, well, if you were doing what you're supposed to be doing and you were where you're supposed to be at, that wouldn't have happened. But honestly, that's not true at all. That could still easily happen. And of course, it's not like I can drive or any of that, so there's not really, like, I don't know. It's just another weird way to try to, like, manipulate the situation and manipulate you into something. But my main point isn't even to talk about the manipulation that people will give when you have certain stuff going on. It's just that the things that are bad about getting out the situation is that there's still similarities, because at the end of the day, it revolves around not having any help. And that was what I really meant with that. And hopefully that's the last thing I had to say and I didn't forget anything else.